Welcome to SGT Sports. I am Aviary Law, and we are talking 90s quarterbacks today. And I have with me
Tyler the Collector.
We have Ryan and Ben, our special guest today.
There we go.
Yeah. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
This is like my childhood.
Yeah.
And like this is, I went and watched TV, and then I was watching the football game, and I couldn't make it through a whole game. At halftime, I was outside playing football with my friends.
Yeah.
Like that was this era of football for me.
You base your picks off of people you liked or true like stats and career numbers and things?
All of the above.
A little bit of both.
Yeah,
There's definitely
mine's mostly what I like.
I have a huge passion pick that I feel like is going to really be divisive here.
I think everyone has a different number one.
I
little
would
show
venture
notes.
to guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, that should be really exciting.
Now we're starting it off with me. Do I get to nominate the first player?
Yeah, so how we're going to do it is we're going to do your number one, and then we'll all do our number ones. But then you do your number one first, and we'll kind of just talk about it.
Okay.
Right?
Well, starting it off with Dan Marino, the
Okay.
greatest quarterback of all time.
Dan Marino, number one, huh?
Yeah.
The
go with
greatest,
my heart.
the greatest regular season quarterback of all time.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that's your
shitting on him?
reaction.
No, I think that Dan Marino is obviously amazing, but I think there has to be something that's said about being a good quarterback from September through January.
Remember that fake
Yeah.
spike?
That was cool.
Against the Jets, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, he
play.
was
That
fancy.
awesome.
He was fun to
No,
watch.
he was fun to watch. I
But-
mean, he was a perfect quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Like,
Physically, I don't know if I've ever seen a better quarterback throw the football than Dan Marino. I'll say
Really?
that. Just
Like-
pure throwing talent.
it was pretty. He threw a pretty ball.
Imagine what he would do today.
Yeah, without anybody being able to touch him the whole time.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I feel like I
stand
don't
him.
remember a lot of him. Like, did his career end in early 90s? Like, he didn't make it all the
No, he
way.
was late.
Was
He might have
He
made it.
retired, I believe, in 99 or
Yeah.
2000.
It was
Almost
late
2000.
90s.
He inducted in the Hall of Fame in 05.
You know who Marino
Okay.
reminds me of? Like Phillip Rivers. Like
You
no
Bite your fucking tongue.
no. You know why?
Holy
you know why?
shit.
Because he puts up amazing numbers. He obviously does it way better. Like Marino's way better to like funner, more fun to watch. Funner's a word to watch, and but it's meaningless football at the end of the day because he's not winning anything.
What was his playoff record? Marino's. Had been bad, right?
Negative wins.
But
Well, I
then
mean,
again,
do you blame him for that?
You
or?
can say what teams he played with.
Can you
Yeah,
name
part
You
of say
can
that.
you can say that, but you
Yeah.
can also he had good receivers. He had Mark
Yeah.
Super Duper.
He didn't have very
Then
many.
you have OJ McDuffie.
I
feel
don't-
like.
I remember
Yeah.
McDuffie,
I don't know
yeah.
any running backs they had, though.
You can say the same thing for Phillip Rivers post LT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers ain't putting up Marino numbers, though.
He puts up big numbers, but
I mean, I see why you put
I don't
Marino
know.
number one for you like him, and
no, it's not Marino numbers obviously because he be breaking records. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm just saying that it reminds me of. It's like a warm weather quarterback. You go there to just watch a football game. You really don't care who wins because they're not going to Super Bowl. It doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah.
perfect Miami quarterback. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think he really not choked, but just lacked what it took to win?
I think
Big
that he was
games.
known to not perform particularly well in the playoffs.
He lost.
Yeah, I'd
that.
like to know his playoff numbers.
Yeah.
No, I think that was the thing. I think that he was known not to perform extremely well in
He
the
had the
playoffs.
one Super Bowl shot, I think, in 1984, his rookie year or his second year, and he just
Yeah.
didn't win it. And he never got another chance after that. So.
Yeah.
Maybe he just chokes or gets nervous on the big stage.
Well, he's actually not that winning in the regular season in the 90s.
Just
either.
good numbers. But he had good numbers, though. That's what
yeah,
I mean.
his stats, his personal
Yeah.
stats are really good.
Like, you don't – if I'm starting a franchise and I want to win games, I'm not getting Dan Marino.
Yeah, he's in the top 3 to 5 of most passing categories in NFL history, right? Is what I would say.
Probably
I think
well,
so.
if you take – if for this instance we're going to pretend that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady don't exist, like
Yeah.
if this is before 2000,
And
then
this
he's
is
probably
also
top.
exposing.
Yeah, right. Probably.
This
level up.
exposes how today's game is so much different.
Oh yeah, today's game's all passing. Like it's,
Phillip Rivers has better numbers.
That's what I'm
than
saying.
the 90s.
Well,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't got Phillip Rivers' numbers next to me, but I don't see a passing. Dan Marino, I'm exposing my pick. Did not throw for his 30 touchdowns is the most he threw.
that
year?
was a lot of
A year.
touchdowns back
But that,
then, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
He
That
threw
is-
Yeah.
48 and 84 though.
48.
Holy
Yeah, that's
shit.
He was the whole offense. They didn't have anybody
This
else.
is-
fantasy boom season right there.
This isn't 80s quarterback though.
No, it's not.
All right.
It does make you wonder what he would have done in a Kansas City Chiefs offense like today.
Oh my God!
Look,
Or just
thinking
had
about that.
Or the Rams in the 90s, like late 90s or 2000s, like that.
Greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well,
So I have him number 1 though.
Yeah.
My favorite quarterback.
So just so everyone knows, we can adjust. We're gonna go through all of our picks, and then we
and
can
also, what year did Ace Ventura come out?
lace it out, Dan. 93 or 94, maybe.
That's true. Should you factor in acting careers?
No, we're not counting. All right. So at the end, we can rate. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rank everyone, and then we're gonna have an average, and then that'll be the real top 10, the average. But we can change our picks throughout,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Open-mindedness. That's what
So
we're
do
about
I
here.
ask you guys where you put him now?
That's fine. Want to do it that way, or do you want to just go through 6 and then we'll just say who? Yeah, we'll just do it that way. So I had Dan Marino, number 6.
Okay.
Great stats, not winning me in any games. That's how I feel about Dan Marino.
I had him number 2 on my list.
There you go.
I had him number 5.
Okay. Any reason?
Lack of winning anything.
You know Dan Marino is
Great
he's the
numbers.
Russell Westbrook of
Yeah.
of 90s football.
He probably
He's
put
gonna
up
get
some
his
triple doubles.
yeah.
When it is in football. But
Exactly. He's not making anybody better,
Yeah.
but he's gonna get those triple doubles. All right, so it's me.
Yep.
My number 1 pick is Steve Young, and that's also a heart pick. But I also feel like it makes sense. He is. I always thought of him to be like a reckless technician.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was very precise, but he was also like a backyard kind of guy. But it looked real pretty when he did it. You know. If we're taking, if we're only going to 2000, that makes him the all-time career quarterback rating leader. I think he led the league like 6 times or something like that in QBR. Or he had the most over
Up to
100 seasons.
2000?
Yeah.
Okay.
He led the league in passing like 4 years in a row, I think, 4 or
Yeah.
5 years in a row. So
He also had a lot of talent around him.
he did, but there's other teams that are more talented.
Yeah. I also liked about Steve Young is
His
his
numbers.
his rushing, like underrated, like rushing. He was actually considered like a running quarterback.
Oh,
He's a game
If you
changer.
look at his highlights, he was.
Yeah.
He
he's a
evolved the position into what it is today.
Yeah, he was like the true scrambling quarterback. Like you
Mhm.
look at people like Fran Tarkenton or Randall Cunningham, like those guys,
Yeah.
like they were great runners, but like they weren't precise throwers. Like
Right.
Steve Young was a precise thrower more so than most pocket quarterbacks.
Yeah. He could throw on the run. Like Cunningham would just run and take off. And
At a glance on his numbers, I would say his numbers are better than Marino's.
Yeah, I mean he led the league in passing. I think it was 4 years in a row
But only one
in the
Super Bowl.
90s. Only one Super Bowl. Well, to his credit, but yeah, he was on other Super Bowl teams, but he was
Yeah.
sitting behind somebody.
Right.
But one Super Bowl, that's okay. He went there.
yeah.
And you know what? I would argue like he had, to me, the 3, for me anyway, I'm not going to give away anything, but my 3 best quarterbacks were constantly fighting each other in the same division or the same conference year after year
Yeah.
after year. That was a tough time when you had like 3 dominant teams being the Packers, the Niners, and the Cowboys constantly fighting for the
Yeah.
NFC. So that's kind of impressive to win a Super Bowl in that reign. Also,
I'm
he
surprised
has
it was only one. Honestly, I would have thought like before doing any research, I would have said 2 for Steve Young on Super Bowl wins.
Yeah.
N-
It was
NFC
against the
champion.
Chargers.
They could destroy the
Yeah.
Chargers. He threw
He
6 touchdown
They
passes.
got that monkey
Yeah,
off
yeah.
his back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get that monkey off.
He threw 6 touchdown passes, which is the most in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I want to talk about. You brought that up, the monkey in the back thing. Who had more pressure? Who's been the best quarterback to follow a phenomenal quarterback? You can't count Aaron Rodgers. That's present day. But like back, I mean,
oh, that's what you're saying. Like
he
did have to
left-
follow Joe
yeah, he
Montana.
left
Legends.
what most people thought was the greatest quarterback of all time in Joe
Mhm.
Montana, and he excelled,
Yeah.
kept going, had the team in NFC Championship games or
He
Super
had Jerry
Bowls.
Rice though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
he had-
That
That's
helps.
true.
Oh my God.
The best football player of all time.
That's true.
That helps.
It does. But you know what? I can think of really great receiver. Okay, look at Megatron. What have the Lions done?
They didn't do
I mean,
much
they.
with
I
him.
mean, they're just
Don't get
because
me
you have
started.
phenomenal. Just because you have phenomenal player doesn't mean that you're
Poor
getting
guy
the
had to
ball,
quit.
right? Anyway, Young. My thing for Young too is he did. He excelled no matter the time of year, like
Yeah.
whether it was regular season, whether it was playoffs, it didn't matter. And you know what else is crazy? His whole '90s run was after he turned 30.
Okay.
He played the
He was
entire
already on the
90.
back end of his
Yeah.
career.
He was already
yeah.
31 when he I think 91 season.
And the
he turned
Niners
31.
drafted him, so he's still literally.
No,
just-
he
Yeah,
got drafted by the
Buccaneers
Buccaneers
That's
after he
right.
played.
You not know that?
That's right. I know. After you said that.
After he played
You're
like
right.
Canadian football or something. And he played some other type football
Yeah.
too. So yeah, he was 31 like when he really took over, or nearing 30 when we took over the reins. So
Wow. I have a number 3, by the way.
it's pretty impressive, I think.
I have him 3 as well.
I have him 3 as well.
Wow. That's a pretty good average so far.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Better than Marino.
And I'm a big Steve Young fan, in case you guys didn't
Yeah.
really pick up
Yeah.
on that.
Passion play.
I have way more stats, too, but we'll cut
You
it
don't even
off.
talk about your wife or your family as
No.
passionately.
Dang.
Steve Young made me a Niners fan.
You hopped around, didn't you say?
I lost the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
They're
that's what we
yanked
talked
from me.
about, yeah.
But I liked the Niners before the Browns left.
See,
yeah.
I just
I
love
like
Steve Young.
Cowboys, so I didn't like the Niners.
See, that was the best thing, is my best friends growing up, one was a huge Cowboys fan, one was a huge Packers fan, and I was a Niners fan. So every year, man, it was so fun, because one of those 3 teams were in
Mm-hmm.
the NFC Championship almost every year.
Ryan, who you got?
My number 1 is Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. Brett Favre.
Old Brett Favre.
I'll go ahead and say that was my number 1 as well.
Ooh.
Oh.
Holy
We agree.
crap.
Wow. Well, talk about averages.
He stole it.
Holy crap.
Is that
Help his
surprising?
case. I didn't
I
think
think
anybody
it's-
else but me would have him number
I think
1,
it's
so I'm kind
surprising.
of surprised about it.
He's why do you have him 1?
When I think of just a playmaking quarterback, I think of Brett Favre. Like
Mhm.
to me, he was Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes, and when you watch him, just his scrambling plays, making something out of nothing, no other quarterback to me looked that way.
Yeah. I felt like I picked him number 1 because I felt like watching him. Like I think back watching him, like I felt like he was a true like gunslinger. Like
Oh yeah.
balls to the wall, not afraid to make the throw, and could make the throw. Like
Sometimes.
he was just fun to watch.
He'll-
I mean, he
he'll-
had some years with some
He'll
bad picks.
he'll lose you games, though. So
yeah.
That's-
But
think
I
for
don't
a
know. I like
time,
that.
Like he had the most touchdowns and most interceptions, so that kind of
Mhm.
speaks to how.
I think he still
He would
might
play.
still have the most interceptions.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
He had
Risk
2
reward. I love risk reward.
In 98 and 99, he threw 23 interceptions each year.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's the reason why I couldn't have Favre that high, is because you just never know if he's gonna break you. Like, I mean, it's exciting to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah,
and
that's-
him and Young kind of played similar ball. It's just Young was more finessey, and
He won
Favre
the
was
one
crazy.
Super Bowl. Did he lose?
He lost one
He
too.
lost one.
So he's
too,
1
yeah.
on 1. That's not bad.
No, that's good. That's I
Um,
mean, and I think that he probably had less talent than these other '90s quarterbacks too
Yeah.
that we're talking about.
He's a victim for me when I didn't do a lot of the stat research. I just kind of went off, in my head.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I remember is in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So I'm not really you don't really think like, oh my God, yeah, Brett Favre dominated the 90s as well.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
he did. See, I didn't. So yeah, I'm not going off a lot of stats. I'm going off what they win and then what did I see, and he was just fun to watch. I mean, after like a touchdown, like he was also like one of the early celebrators.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he really
Seemed like a great
celebrated big
teammate.
plays. Yeah, he was just always pumped
Yeah.
and excited.
Well, I have him number 6.
I have
Whoa.
I have him 3.
Well, Tyler just
You got him real
already
low,
lost
Tyler.
credibility with.
Well, to me,
One.
I see I like Favre a lot. Like, I think he's a great quarterback, but I also think that if I was a Packers fan, as much as I like Favre, I'd kind of hate him, because there's just times where you just know, like,
It's frustrating.
yeah, it can be
Mhm.
frustrating because you never know what he's gonna do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed. Now I don't know much about the '90s as much, but later in his career, he also seemed like a lot of drama. But
Oh, you mean
Retiring,
going
coming back
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
and then going to your division
Yeah.
rival?
yeah,
He
Oh,
just wanted to play football.
he
Going to
did. That's
football,
that's
yeah.
why I like him.
I kind of like the way that Rodgers came out of it. Like he was kind of getting screwed a little bit by Favre, because Favre
Yeah.
didn't want to be a mentor or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
he
Rodgers,
wanted to take all
He
the
kind of was
reps.
a shitty teammate in the end.
He
It'd be
was,
also
yeah.
interesting to and like the true experts probably know this. It'd be interesting to know out of all these quarterbacks, which ones like put a lot of time in the reviewing film, because I feel like Favre was the guy that could just show up and sling it and beat you.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
The behind the
And
scenes.
that's probably why he threw more picks. Like he didn't read coverages as well. He didn't plan as much, but he just went out there and played ball. And
well, and he just had terrible technique.
Didn't they
He's throwing off his back foot all the time.
Oh,
The
yeah.
ball's bound
Yeah.
to lose some of the.
Didn't they talk about he would rip the gloves, like wide receivers' gloves would start to rip because how hard
The
he threw
velocity.
it.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I've
I-
heard that.
I
can
remember-
picture it. Yeah,
I remember the big thing with my friends is like, you wouldn't want to be a Favre's receiver because he'll hang you out to dry
Mhm.
all the damn time. Like he did it to Sterling Sharp. Like high passes over the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has
for
terrible
sure.
technique. So
Yeah.
he's constantly running, throwing off his back foot like a psychopath. And like the ball sail all the time. You throw off your back foot. You don't step in. The ball sails. Someone goes up to gets it. They go across the middle and just get destroyed, man.
Yeah, he's wild card. My
Half
favorite
sharp.
character in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Wild card.
Charlie.
You want to go with your number 2 then, since your number 1 was taken?
Yeah, might as well, because I think it's going to get a lot of controversy.
Oh.
Ooh.
My number 2 is Troy Aikman.
Oh, okay.
Also, that's
as-
also my number 2.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you guys would be like,
It's not far off from where I have him at number 4.
all right.
I also have him number 4.
I felt like
Yeah.
his, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get a lot of credit for what he did. I mean, he won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He did have a hell of a team around him.
He had the best team around him in the
But
90s.
It was a lot of pressure. It was America's team. He had to go against some other good, really, really good teams. And I probably would consider him a game manager.
His
Yep.
stats are
But
not.
there's nothing wrong with that.
His stats aren't great, but there's something to be said about having expectations and meeting them.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and like, throughout his career, and he did that. I remember, and I'm sure you remember, I remember watching games, and there's games where Aikman didn't do a great job, but he
No.
had such a good team around
They had a
him.
good defense.
Holy shit. Only one season with over 20 passing touchdowns in
Yeah.
the 90s.
Yeah.
23.
Well, he had
Yeah.
the
So he
he
was
had
basically an Alex
He had Emmitt
Smith.
Smith.
yeah he had the
What?
leading he had the leading rusher of all time on his team.
You hand the ball to the like they should
But,
have handed to Marshawn Lynch. Yeah.
But there is something to be said about not he was a game manager.
Yeah.
But he's you don't really see many game
But he
managers.
didn't make mistakes, and he got him 3 Super Bowls.
You don't see many game managers that stick in the same role for a decade.
Yeah.
Like
no,
you look at
not
like a
all.
Brad Johnson or someone like that. Like
Yeah,
they
they
don't,
never went away from him. Like there was always close games. There was close calls. He wasn't doing anything over the top to win the games, but he also wasn't losing you games. So they just said, we got a process in place, and this guy knows how to carry it out.
Yeah.
And he got him 3 Super Bowls. So most in the 90s.
I think a lot of other quarterbacks could have done it as easily as he did, though, personally. But I still
Yeah.
have him number 2 because he did do
You
it.
think Favre in his spot with his risky behavior?
No,
gets
I
him
think
3?
that Favre would have got kicked off the team.
He probably wouldn't have worked in that type of
In the
atmosphere.
90s, yes.
Dan Reno in
Today,
his spot with Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith running the ball.
That would be scary, I think.
Dan Reno got 5 rings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if you need a Dan. You just don't. You don't. I wonder how that team changes if they have someone like that, though. Like Troy Smith's not a Dan Marino type, so or Troy Aikman is not a Dan Marino type. So he is.
Troy Smith.
Yeah, Troy Smith.
Buckeye
He-
Heisman winner.
He is like what he is. Like he's that guy. He is an
Yeah.
Alex Smith type.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have him if you need to build your team
Yeah.
around Emmitt Smith the way they did.
It's so weird how in the 90s you didn't have to have
Mm-mm.
the greatest quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I
No.
think Emmett came after Troy Smith or
He
Troy
was
Aikman.
probably
Jeez, I can't stop because Emmitt Smith. I
Yeah.
can't stop saying
Like
Combined,
stat wise, during the 90s, he was probably the 8th, 9th best quarterback. Like
if that.
most touchdowns thrown in the 90s. He's definitely far down that list.
Yeah.
But it's also for me nostalgia. I mean, I like the Cowboys. I had Cowboy stuff all in my room. Aikman, pictures, and I mean he led America's team. Damn it, he's number 2.
I think that if I'm saying all right, I'm taking these quarterbacks and I'm putting them all on like a terrible Tampa Bay team. I'm not in the 90s. They were terrible. I'm not.
It's a personal shot.
I'm not going to pick Troy Aikman. I'm in my top 8 or 10 or whatever. It's not going to happen. But
True.
in this scenario, he did what he's supposed to do. He
Mhm.
won, and he did it the right way. He managed the team well. He didn't cause drama. He took a back seat. He was able to do all that, especially on that team. Could you imagine a quarterback that had a big ego, like a really big ego,
Oh, yeah.
on a team with Michael Irvin, on a team with Emmitt Smith's quiet, but he's got a big ego. He played till he was 90 to get touchdowns.
Yes.
And even their linemen, you knew Leon Lett and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like
They
you
had
knew their
big
lineman's name
personalities,
yeah.
because they're off
Cocaine
snorting
Cowboys,
coke
right?
somewhere. Yeah. So
Yeah, they all just coked up.
that was pretty impressive that he was able to do what he was supposed to do, and he did have a great team around him. But there's been great teams since then that didn't work. So
What's
he's
funny is his announcing now. He seems like he's cocky.
He is
You
a
know
little
what I mean?
salty too.
Yeah.
a little surly.
He does seem a
Yeah.
little because I think he feels like he's underappreciated. Like he doesn't get the
He's
credit.
not afraid to be very critical of
Yeah.
quarterbacks, like Flacco a couple weeks ago, and then
he might.
I thought he made a really funny comment. And if you watched last Thursday's game, he said he heard there's a third Bosa brother playing somewhere.
Oh
in
yeah,
Joe
he said
Buck.
something about a third Bosa.
Yeah. And like all the recruiters go down to South Florida to look at that right after he said that.
Nice.
So then we'd go to my number 2.
Where'd you have
Yep.
him?
Oh, I had Aikman 4.
Okay.
I agreed with Ryan. My number 2 is John Elway.
I have Elway 4.
I have Elway 5.
I have Elway 4.
So 4, 5, 4.
I had 4, yeah.
If he would have had he was a really good 80s quarterback. He was a good 90s quarterback too.
Yeah.
But
Back-to-back Super Bowl wins to end your career.
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Putting a stamp on that.
He has the best way to end a career.
Yeah.
Number
Yeah.
1 there.
Yep. He's killing. Well, we haven't seen so far in this until 2000. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have been nice if he could have won Super Bowls earlier in the decade instead of waiting till the very end. That would have helped his case a lot. He probably would have been number 1 on my list if he did that. But
I feel like he couldn't do it until he got like Terrell Davis or something.
yeah, he needed
Like
another
it-
piece.
Right.
Yeah, he also had a lot of talent on his team. But it's funny, like I put him 4, even though I put Aikman 2, because I felt like outside of the Super Bowl wins, his numbers weren't great. Just like Aikman's weren't either. But
I think I think he had pretty good years in the 80s,
80s, yeah.
but that doesn't count obviously. But I think that going back to the scenario where we have a crappy team, I take Elway over Aikman. Physically, he's way more gifted than
Oh,
Aikman.
yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah, he was a hell of a leader. I think Elway was a clear, clear-cut leader. I think he drove that team to the 2 Super Bowls. Obviously,
There's a guy that I don't know if he would have worked in the Cowboys because he had a pretty big personality. Like not a bad one, but
Yeah.
he just had Elway likes Elway a lot.
wasn't he? Isn't he considered like the first comeback, the true best comeback quarterback? Elway.
I don't talk about it.
Oh, that's right. The drive.
I'm a Browns fan. Yeah. Also the 80s though.
I
so
feel
it
like
doesn't really matter.
he got the comeback kid label.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very early
Oh,
in his
yeah.
career. Yep.
He was athletic too. I mean, like
Which
for,
he doesn't
for
look
being,
like it
no,
now.
for
You're
being
like,
a big guy. Even
God.
late in his career, he didn't look like it. He was like
Right.
big barrel-chested dude, real thick.
Got
But
a
he-
big head, like an actual big head. When we were at the Hall of Fame and he walked by me, and I'm like, that dude's head is 3 times the size of a normal person's head.
Steroids.
I guess.
He's with that Barry Bonds.
He was like a funny shaped quarterback. He was so with his pads on and everything.
It doesn't look like he was wearing a flak jacket. Like that was just his body.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It did look like
he also
had
has the
someone-
most iconic football scene. That
The helicopter.
yeah, when he gets
Yeah.
hit.
That's what I
Oh,
always
yeah.
think when I
Yeah.
think of John Elway.
But yeah, he's still run like
Some
even
old
he's
man
like
just holding
40.
on to your
Yeah,
life.
he's 40 still running. Like that tells you. I mean, he obviously had heart. I think he probably deserves to be a little bit higher. I think if it wasn't John Elway that went against my Browns so much,
Yeah.
I probably would rank him a little higher. But the Browns don't have Super Bowls or at least
Because of
appearances
him.
because of John
Yeah.
Elway. So
Never threw for over 30 touchdowns.
No.
different time.
Yeah,
It's
this is
so
different.
crazy
Yeah.
seeing these numbers, and it's like, I wouldn't start this clown in my fantasy team.
Yeah, but now
Like,
you can't touch your quarterback in the head. Back then, Bruce Smith was fish hooking them and
Yeah.
stuff. Like
with
That's
a
true.
crowbar.
yeah, like it's just different.
Yeah.
I would love to see and like some of our favorite quarterbacks from the '90s play today and see the numbers they put up. Like you're talking about Marino,
Oh, it would
talking
be
about Young. Like I would love to see that right now and see.
Young
and
would
see.
thrive.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is Young.
Yep.
There's a bunch of Youngs in the league right now,
Mhm.
basically, and they're just doing really well. They're faster than he is, but
Actually, maybe he wouldn't be so special.
That's true because the defenses are faster too than what he played against.
Yeah.
but like you're right. These guys are faster, but he's an all-time
Defensive
great.
linemen back then were
accuracy-wise.
350, and they just barely got to the quarterback most of
It
the
was
time.
just
Now
46 defenses. And
Now
stuff.
defensive linemen, even the guys in the middle, are skinny and in shape.
You'd have to assume though that
He
if
would
it,
adjust as well.
that you would adjust as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Like you would train differently or whatever. Back then, they probably rarely even trained quarterback. I mean, seriously, quarterbacks probably rarely spent as much time in the weight room.
Oh, in the gym?
Yeah.
Probably
Well,
not.
didn't Smoking Joe just hit cigarettes on the sidelines?
Yeah, wearing his fur coat.
Who you got, number 2?
My number 2 was Troy Aikman. So I want to go to number
Mhm.
3.
Just go down your list.
That was Brett Favre.
Okay.
My number 4 was John Elway. My number 5, Jim Kelly.
Number
Okay.
5.
4 straight Super Bowls. That's impressive, whether you
Also
win or
my
not.
Number 5.
I have a number 6.
I have him. Dang guys, I have him 9.
Ooh.
I mean, you go to 4 straight
He's
Super
a
Bowls.
loser.
boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
Yeah.
That was a joke, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, he had. I always thought, what's really crazy is I always thought that like the Bills were kind of reminding me of the Cowboys. Not from they obviously don't have as great of a line, but like you had Thurman Thomas, you had a game manager at quarterback, you had you had good receivers.
Andre Reed.
Andre Reed. Like they always kind of reminded me of like the AFC Cowboys a little bit.
Yeah, like
poor
man's team, poor man's
a little
Cowboys.
lesser the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I can see
no
that.
line. Like the line wasn't the same, stuff like that. But they just had.
I put him low because I think they had a hell of a team, and that's why he kept getting to Super Bowls. But then when he faced a better team, he could never.
Was it his fault that Scott Norwood went
wide
right?
Couple
yeah,
times.
man. Was it his fault? You gave Troy Aikman the same praise
Didn't
for
Steve-
doing the
didn't-
same thing.
Didn't Christie miss one too, or was his name like Steve Christie
Was it
or something?
His fault that Scott Norwood went
I can't remember. It might have been.
Yeah,
I feel like
that sounds familiar.
I feel like
maybe
they
he missed
missed-
that throw that didn't get the first down that led to the field goal.
I feel like they've missed 2 field goals in that run, but I don't remember now. I guess.
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like it was
probably.
2.
I just feel like there's a lot of things that happened to him that he could not control. So that's why I'm a little more gracious to him, I guess, than you would be. But
I do remember him not having great games in the playoffs, but like not obviously bad enough for not going to Super Bowl.
Yeah, he
But he had a great team around him. He still had a good team around him. I mean,
Yeah.
Bruce Smith was a world changer. I mean, you look at
all-time leading sack.
yeah, you look at
Yeah.
how the Boses are changing games right now, like complete games.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Bruce Smith did.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah, for years.
yeah.
I had him just far down there. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
I think that he's another one of those guys that he's not Dan Marino, not a Brett Favre, not a Young, not a Elway. He's more of an Aikman, like just a good quarterback
Yeah.
that gets the job done. You just need a little more talent than those guys have.
It would be Ryan's.
What are we
All right,
on
so
now?
the first guy I have here that hasn't been mentioned is number 7, and that's Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham.
I have him at 8.
I had him 10. However, I should adjust my list because,
Well,
We can move 'em
that'll
all
come
up.
at the end.
well, I have Peyton Manning in my top 10, and I think we were talking about how that's not.
It doesn't really make sense, but it's,
Yeah.
if you went down that hill, brother, you're wearing the jersey.
So we'll stick with Randall Cunningham at 10.
Okay.
Yeah, just super athletic, kind of like a Michael Vick mold before Michael Vick. Just first of his kind, I think.
Threw 34 touchdowns in 1998.
You wouldn't have thought that.
No.
It's a lot.
Wow, Randall Cunningham did?
Yeah.
When he was with the Vikings, yeah, and he had Moss.
So he's also a
yeah.
guy that kind of bounced around. Well, he bounced around at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Went
most
to
a lot of
Phil-
people
yeah,
do.
Yeah. But when you close your eyes, do you think of him as the Eagles?
Yeah.
I do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, statistically, his best season was with the Vikings.
My best season would be the Vikings if I had Randy Moss. I mean,
Yeah.
he just threw the ball up and he mossed him.
That was
baby.
Moss's rookie year, too, right?
98.
98, I think it was.
I don't know.
That's another team where you think what could have been for their Super Bowls.
Yeah. He gets penalized, obviously, for not winning a Super Bowl.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we're at this point in our list right now
Fun to
where
watch.
we're not going to have very many Super Bowl winners left.
Mm-mm.
But he,
Rushing wise, he's not setting the world on fire.
yeah, I always thought that was the other thing. I always had this conversation with my friends between him and Young, and I always felt like Young was a better version of him. He's faster, but
Yeah.
he wasn't better.
He was more
He-
athletic, but he didn't use it the same way.
Yeah.
Young
He
did.
looked fun to watch because of his stride, like how he ran.
He was
like,
smooth.
No other quarterback was built like he
Right.
was.
Yeah. He was very smooth. He covered a lot of ground in a short amount of like strides.
I guess in 1990, he did run for 942 yards.
That's
a
pretty
lot.
good.
That's
That's
a lot.
But really, other than that, you would think like, oh, okay, he's gonna have like 600 yards a season. No, 549 is his next highest, and then he doesn't even go over 300.
Wow.
And there's some seasons he doesn't even go over 100.
That's because he probably realized what the NFL actually meant not for long if you keep running around like an idiot.
He'd be
Like,
bagging groceries.
You're going to die soon. So, especially back then, like we were talking about, his head got taken off, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of like one of those guys. It's like he was fun to watch. I'm not building my team around him, but he was fun to watch. So where are we at now?
It's Ben's pick.
Who you got? Ben?
Well, my next one on my list that hasn't been called is Peyton Manning, down at, I guess it'd be 6.
You have Peyton Manning at 6th?
Yeah.
Cool.
I have him at 20.
Oh,
I didn't rake him, so
I have him at 12, so that'll help you a little bit.
All right.
I'll take him at 20.
Well, yeah, I was gonna. So,
Okay, realistically, he got drafted in '98. He had
He
bad.
threw a shit ton of touchdowns.
He had a bad. He had a lot of
interceptions.
interceptions his rookie year, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. I just really like Peyton Manning. And
love the man.
I've said it before we started. I think Peyton Manning's the best quarterback of all time.
so I may have factored in, watching him in college a little bit too much, and I just think back in the '90s. I think for me, Peyton Manning was a really good quarterback, but I probably factored in his time at Tennessee.
We were
Do you
ranking
think so?
90s college quarterbacks. He might have been number 1.
Tommy
What was
Frazier.
his '99 numbers?
Hold on. I got
Not enough to justify him being in your top 10. Come on. What are we talking about here?
I didn't look at numbers.
You have Super Bowl winners you
I
haven't
win.
named yet.
They might be on here.
Not ahead
Yep.
of Peyton Manning, according to your list.
I'm interested in numbers. I just that was a knee jerk reaction. I put him on there, and
Yep.
then I thought about. I was like, well, he got in their late '90s and didn't do anything in the early '90s.
My
Or
number
the-
7 pick is Patrick Mahomes. I just like Patrick Mahomes. He was alive in the 90s.
I mean,
Barely.
was he?
Barely.
I was gonna say.
All right. His 98-99 stats, he threw 26 touchdowns both years, threw 28 interceptions the first year, and 15 the second.
You got better.
Wow,
He
big
did,
drop off.
He won a total of 16 games and lost 16 games.
That's not bad. First 2 years.
He went 3-13, then flipped it, 13-3.
That was maybe that's what it is. That '99
You're
year.
big,
standing
you're
out to
gonna
me.
Just
that win differential.
That's pretty damn impressive, right?
It is, but I mean, so
To be
you're
number
taking
6?
his career as a whole ending at 99. So if you said, hey, this guy played a decade in the league and he was 16-16 and he threw for a total of like 50 touchdowns and like
40
interceptions. Yep, 6 best right there. Lock him in.
Okay, in hindsight,
You got exposed.
that was a little bit too much nostalgia on that one. What are those Tennessee numbers?
yeah, factor those in.
Yeah. I guess we could change it to just quarterbacks in the 90s.
Tommy Frazier.
So then it'd be me, the next guy that hasn't been mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Warren Moon.
That's my number 7.
It's my number 8.
That is also my number 8.
Pretty consistent.
My dude's 7.5. Lock in the math. Yeah. I mean, he was just smooth.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a smooth guy to watch. Like he was a good like rolling guy. Would roll do bootlegs and throw on the run real nice. Like he
Yeah,
was
that was
just
his bread and
smooth.
butter.
Yeah. Like wasn't he the run and shoot? That was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was like one of those guys that I think they like a lot of design play calls were out of the pocket, like roll out of the pocket.
Yeah, move the
didn't
pocket.
Stay still. So that was like I think that was like starting to get more popular at the time and fun to watch.
He played on 4 different teams in the 90s.
Oh,
Wow,
you know
really?
the other
That
thing you have
much?
to consider with Warner Moon is how good would he have been if like the first 4 years of his career weren't in like Canada or wherever
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
He had to work
Yeah.
his ass off to even get
Yeah.
in the NFL because back then they didn't just take black quarterbacks.
Yep.
So I think that really says something about his ability.
I would have never thought 4. I picture him as an Oiler.
He was on
Titans.
Houston, Vikings, Seahawks,
Oh, no,
and
Titans.
Kansas City.
That's right. I was thinking.
He
that's
ended
been
his
there.
career with Kansas City.
Yeah, he's definitely an Oiler to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oiler. I remember the Vikings pretty fondly. I feel like he had like a
I-
season or two that was
yeah.
decent or something.
Actually, for me, it's Seattle
I
because
don't remember
that'd
that
be
at all.
the time.
Really?
In my, I think I had a football card, and it just you have that one thing, and that just becomes like, oh, Warren Moon.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the old Seahawks team, like the old uniforms, before they changed them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can picture him
big
on
sleeves.
Yeah.
We're kind of at the point where like, yeah, these are really good quarterbacks that aren't winning.
Yeah. Fun
A
to
lot
watch.
of
Didn't
things.
win. He never won anything, did he?
No, I think they might have went. Maybe they went to a championship game, but I don't think they even did.
He wasn't on great teams. Though. I don't remember anything like.
I feel
I
like he
couldn't
had.
name a wide receiver he had.
See, I was thinking that I could, but I can't remember. I can't remember now. Is Oiler in Houston days? I don't know. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Playoff record. He won a couple. He won 3 playoff games.
Over his whole career.
Yeah.
No, not
So
great.
that's A
Probably
lot of
not.
that was in the
Better
80s.
than better than Dan Marino.
Oh, fuck you.
Lock him in. Tyler's number 1. Warren Moon. All right. So that's you now, right?
Was that me?
No,
You
that
picked,
was him.
Tyler picked that one.
Oh, that
So
was
it's-
you?
yeah, so
Oh,
it's you.
okay. My next one not picked is at number 9. I have Drew Bledsoe, quarterback, New England Patriots.
I have him number 10.
I have him 16.
Whoa, I have him 11.
I remember Drew Bledsoe coming in and being like Peyton Manning hype, like this statuesque
Yeah,
pocket
he was that same type of
technician, like big arm.
Mm-hmm.
He was good.
He was really good.
Yeah, I think people.
Literally what we said these were going to be. He was good.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think that people mostly remember him because of the Tom Brady thing. But like he,
like if he didn't get hurt and
Yeah.
Tom Brady didn't replace him and
he
do
was
well,
he did well.
what would have happened?
Did he
Yeah,
take him to
true.
a Super Bowl or really
He was
close
the
the last year before he got
Was
hurt?
he the quarterback
Who was
that
the
lost to
quarterback?
Favre?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought. He
Yeah,
lost to the
okay.
Packers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like really good success. Look, I think that if he doesn't get hurt, he has a Tom Brady like career.
No.
Well,
yeah,
about-
for some years
Like-
under Belichick. I think that they have a long
Oh.
run
It
of
might not
really
have been
good.
as long, but
No,
it was
no,
for
no.
some
Well, he's
years.
older too.
Like
but
he
like,
could have won a couple of those ones that Tom Brady.
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
I'm saying
think
like
so.
like the years that Tom right now Tom Brady has having a crazy career because of his age and because he's making plays. But early on, like I feel like Brady's just a really good system quarterback early on,
Yeah,
and I think
Yeah.
Bledsoe could have had that same success in that system. So I think
I think they still would have won some with Bledsoe there.
Yeah,
I think so.
he had some talent.
Oh, from a pure, if you look at if you look until like just after maybe the early 2000s, like just before that, you would put Tom Brady next to Drew Bledsoe and you'd be like, I would take Drew Bledsoe all day long. Has a bigger arm. He's more pro tip. Like he's like the guy that I would want.
Oh, Brady
was a
definitely didn't
chump.
look the part.
No, he was a
No, just
6th
look at
round
his combine
or 7th
footage.
round or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he just looked terrible compared to Bledsoe.
And another thing I'm noticing is when you bring up these stats, he was healthy a lot during the 90s. Like he played the full season a lot of times, or
Yeah. He
He
missing
probably
one
had good
game.
numbers too, like 4,000 yards a lot and stuff like that.
Threw for 4,000 yards in the 90s twice.
Yeah.
High
Threes.
High threes 2 other times. Through he's another. It's the 90s, so the touchdown numbers are skewed.
Like 20s.
High 20s.
That's pretty good. That was good in the
Yeah.
90s though.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He-
He threw 27 interceptions in '94 though.
Wow.
Was that his rookie year?
No,
Oh.
it was his second year.
Well,
They went
sophomore
10
slump.
and 6 though because he threw 25 touchdowns and 4,555
Oh, wow.
yards.
He threw a
That
lot.
was a
Then.
shitload of yards back.
He just threw a
Yeah.
lot.
Just slinging it.
Was that in? Or was that?
It was in '94.
That's New England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
'cause-
was with New England.
and then
in
Buffalo after
2001.
that.
Then Buffalo, then Dallas.
I feel like he even had decent times in Buffalo, like for being Buffalo.
They're a victim of playing in the Patriots division
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, good numbers.
Yes, I mean, I feel like he even had good numbers then. Like he was still like an elite, like top, like upper level quarterback back then.
6'5", dude's big.
Yeah, he's a big dude, big arm. I'm telling you, he was like
Birthday's on
He was-
Valentine's Day,
Manning, like.
if you were wondering.
Early on.
Nice. I'll change it. I'm gonna move him up.
Who's
I think it's me. The next one I have that has been mentioned is number 9, Joe Montana.
there? He is.
Wait a minute.
I have him at 10.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
You know.
He was like mostly like 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
Probably the
fucking
greatest
Peyton
80s
Manning was
quarterback.
mostly 2000s.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't see
the difference is though is Joe Montana won a Super Bowl or lost Super Bowl in the 90s, 1990.
And now, see, if I would have factored Joe Montana into mine, I would have had him much higher than where you have him.
Well, I
you're
feel
not
like-
factoring
Just
in
90s.
80s. That's why he's
Yeah.
so low.
You're not
only
factoring the
taking
80s in.
You not understand what we've
He'd
been
be,
doing.
he'd
this
Yeah.
whole
probably be
time.
number 1 if it was 80s. So.
But in 1990, he went like 14-2.
Okay.
He
okay.
led the
What was his
Niners
last
to
year?
Super Bowl.
His last
95,
year was
94.
So
He
yeah,
played
4
more than
years.
Peyton Manning. Okay.
Yeah.
He
4
retired
years.
in 95. He led the Chiefs to the playoffs, I think 3 times maybe or twice, but they went to the playoffs twice maybe or 3 times.
It doesn't show that on this. It shows his his record when he played. 14-1.
With the Chiefs.
Yeah. No, that was with San Francisco
Okay,
in
that
1990.
was okay.
And then he obviously didn't
Got hurt.
play in 90. Wow. He didn't play at all in 91.
No, that's when Steve Young took over.
And then he played 92 for spot play. It looks like,
I think that's when he hurt his back.
They said he
Must
played
have
46. I researched this, and they said that he played 46 games for the Chiefs.
no way.
That's what they said. That was weird.
Maybe they're counting playoff games.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I put him at the end of my list because I didn't think he did much in the 90s. So I
So
did factor in, like,
where do you
was it
have
the
him on
90s?
your list, Ben?
15,
And Chris, where do you have him?
10.
because I only did 15.
Numbers wise, let's see.
Well, yeah.
He threw 26 touchdowns. But then for the Chiefs, 13 and 16 touchdowns.
Yeah, Marcus Allen.
Mm.
But
You know, it's just we got a good running back.
did. Yeah.
Just hand it off.
Yeah,
Hand off.
and off a smile.
I'm pretty sure that those Chiefs teams, I think he went to the playoffs, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think
thought,
they had Derek Thomas on defense.
did, yeah.
Too.
They had
He was
Derek
a
Thomas.
monster.
for some reason I was thinking they went to the playoffs.
So you
Maybe
had
I'm
him
wrong.
at 9?
No, the
you
Chiefs
said?
definitely they lost in the championship game.
Okay.
He almost took the Chiefs to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I mean, I can't argue.
That's pretty
because I
insane.
have Peyton Manning up there at 6. So.
Yeah, all your credibility has been flushed down the toilet.
Son of a bitch.
I might even move Joe Montana up. We'll see how this goes. Especially coming back from a back injury, man. And then not only that, but like you were a dynasty quarterback for Bill Walsh for what, a decade, and then you have to go and you basically are outcasted at that point because of Steve Young's success while you were injured. He's basically the original Drew Bledsoe. And
That's
then
true.
he gets shunned and then comes back and leads Chiefs, which I don't know a lot about the Chiefs, but I don't remember the Chiefs being great when he went there, before he went there, because they got Marcus Allen when they got him. I remember them like stacking up when he came.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you want to continue going, or we could run 11? So,
Yeah, we'll
is
go-
there
we keep-
anybody in your top 10 that hasn't been mentioned? Would
No.
be the biggest thing.
Not for me. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
What about Ryan first?
I just said 10 Kurt Warner.
Okay, so that counts.
That's the name I was going to say, and I had him at 7.
Wow.
You're like a victim of one. They got one good year, man. One good year in the 90s.
Well, he was employee of the month at Costco like 4 times.
That counts too.
So
I just really...
Ben takes their pre NFL experience into
Yep.
consideration,
You weighed that heavily.
and he top cart pusher 1994.
Where do you have him?
Kurt Warner,
Yeah.
sure. 16.
All right. I mean, that Super Bowl really stands out to me. I'm sorry. It was fun to watch. The story plays
That was
a
one
part
of the
of it.
first Super Bowls I ever remember
Yeah, I
watching.
feel
So I
like-
think that's kind of the
I
reason.
mean, I remember ones before that a little bit too, but yeah, it was.
He barely won it though. If there would have been half a yard more from what's his name,
Kevin Dyson.
yeah, then it wouldn't even, we wouldn't even be talking about that. It still would have been a good story, but been like, well, that's why you don't bring in a guy that's bagging groceries and wins Super Bowl. He couldn't even win it.
Imagine Dan Marino on that team. We talked about that at the top of the show.
yeah.
I don't think Marshall Falk would get enough handoffs.
He literally
Had one.
98. He played some spot play. Through 11 attempts in 98, and then 99 he threw 499 times.
How many yards did he throw that year?
4,353, 41 touchdowns.
41 touchdowns.
Only 13 interceptions.
Yeah, because he was
Very
good.
efficient.
Well, yeah, that was a great system to play in too. I mean,
Isaac
Greatest show
Bruce,
on turf.
Torrey Holt.
yeah,
God.
Marshall Falk, he had the greatest check down in the history of the game, probably.
Ooh,
Maybe.
Him-
another show.
Him or LT, I think, are the two best checkdowns in the history of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say LT.
I think Marshall Falk was the OG.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a couple guys a little high on my list that only had one good year in the 90s.
We're gonna rethink inviting Ben back to future sports shows.
Now I guess do you want to do?
who's your next one? Like,
Wild
who's your
cards?
11?
I have Steve McNair at 11.
Me too.
Okay,
I didn't have him in 11, but I did have him in my top 15.
I'm 14.
I would have him 14 as well.
Okay. I mean,
I had Boomer at 13.
Me too.
oh,
Me too.
we're just gonna
Sorry.
rattle off some people.
Well, do you want to talk about McNair at all?
I think it's important that he was the highest drafted African American quarterback at the time.
Yeah.
So that was big.
I just thought he was so interesting because he was so like country.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
like,
if you
the
listen
most
to him
country
talk,
dude
That's
ever.
not what you would expect.
Like all I would ever do was go fishing or stuff. Like it just
Yeah.
was just interesting.
I also felt like he was one of the early like more pocket passing quarterbacks that could run. Like he was like pass first type of guy.
Yeah.
For like African American quarterbacks, I guess. Like
Similar to Warren.
yeah. I guess he was a lot like Warren Moon.
Yeah. I mean, took his job, didn't he?
Took her job.
Old Bum Phillips had type apparently.
Yeah. You just want to start rattling people
So
off?
I had Mark Brunell at 11.
I had him at 15.
Mark Brunell. You
I
have
had him. I would have been like 16. I even crossed him off. I had him down.
I think he was the first,
Where'd you have him?
15.
like the first expansion team to go to the playoffs.
I'm
like
not even
three.
going to factor in these. I'm not doing the average for these guys that
Yeah.
clearly aren't.
I think Brunell like took them to the playoffs like 3
Mm-hmm.
times in a row or something crazy in the
Expansion team
90s.
being that,
Yeah.
yeah, it was impressive.
I always considered him to be Steve Young light,
Yeah.
The left-handed quarterback.
left-handed scrambler.
Yeah. Mark Brunell, you never think by looking at him that he'd be a scrambling quarterback.
Right? No, he
Steve
was
Young,
like
same
a-
way. They both look
Yeah.
similar.
Just yeah, they are
Yeah,
just generic. He's the generic Steve Young.
he's Steve Young light.
Doug Flutie.
I have him at 14.
Never heard of him. I don't have him ranked. 17, sure.
No, we're just talking.
I think that it's crazy that Phil Simms wasn't brought up. He did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. That is crazy. Crazy.
Peyton Manning's brought up. Phil Simms, Super Bowl winner. Played 5 years or whatever in the 90s. I mean, his best years were in the 80s, but, like, still do won a Super Bowl. But cool, I guess.
Boomer.
I had Boomer at 13. I think I wouldn't have Boomer on my list, though, if I wasn't living in Ohio. Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
He wouldn't have
it could
registered for
just
me.
be the name.
Yeah.
Playing for the Bengals.
He's in a
living in
commentator.
Ohio.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, you grew up with Bengals friends, like fans that were friends that were fans, and you heard Boomer all the time. That's one reason. Like,
He had the look, didn't he? Have like the blonde hair, like
Yeah.
mullet.
Like I was a huge Bernie fan. No one outside, like no one knows Bernie Kosar really. That's older, that's younger than you guys,
Right.
unless you live here.
I feel like he had he had the '90s quarterback look.
Cordell Stewart.
Oh my god,
He was 20th on
Lot
the
of
Games
hype.
Last
I
one.
didn't even think about that guy.
Slash.
Yeah, that was Slash.
Man, I forgot
I
about
want to look
that.
up his stats.
He
I'm
was fun,
curious.
man, but he's just a gimmick, I guess, to me.
Oh,
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah,
I think I also liked him.
he's like the definition of a gimmick.
Yeah. Did he like replace somebody on the Steelers? Like how'd that happen?
Neil O'Donnell.
Oh my God, Neil O'Donnell.
I thought Neil O'Donnell.
Let's bring Neil O'Donnell up.
I'm back in the 90s.
Neil O'Donnell won. He won a Super Bowl, right? Did he win a Super
Um,
Bowl?
I don't know.
Who?
I don't think so.
I don't-
I think he did, or at least they were in Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell.
Yeah, they were definitely in one. He might have
I
won
think they
one.
lost it though.
Okay, and then Cordell came in, and then Cordell had trouble keeping old Tommy
Maddox.
Maddox out of the lineup. So he's out. If you can't beat out Tommy Maddox for a starting job,
Tommy Maddox won the goddamn XFL championship.
cool.
That's
only
the
one
show
that
will be next. XFL greatest quarterbacks.
All I know from XFL is he hate me.
Yeah. And touchdown Tommy, and then he turned into turnover Tommy.
He's not even the touchdown. Touchdown Tommy is Tommy Vardell. That's the original touchdown Tommy. Damn it.
What about Vinny Testaverde?
Yeah, I had
18
him.
on my list.
I
He's
had-
quite the journeyman quarterback.
Bernie Kosar light.
I had 13. Yeah.
That's every time. I thought it was hilarious because obviously as a Browns fan, I hated Belichick because they shipped off Kosar, so they got rid of Kosar and then Bernie starts, and you basically just took a younger Bernie and put him in. Like they were like they almost looked the same when they were throwing. It was weird.
I can see that.
Both from Miami,
yeah,
both
sure, they were
Hurricanes,
from Miami.
both just giant dudes with big noses. Like they just look the same.
Oh man, all the '90s quarterbacks, honestly.
Chris Chandler
Very-
also hasn't been brought up for the Falcons.
Chris
Do you guys
Chandler.
remember him?
Yeah, I kind of do a little
Made
bit,
2
but
Pro Bowls.
I didn't think about looking about Pro Bowls.
That's a big thing.
That plays a part. I bet you
We-
Manning
we-
made Pro
we-
Bowl in '99.
Is that the jersey?
Nope. This is from later in his career.
Oh my God.
When he had recordable stats.
All right, you guys want to know, according to our averages, who's number one?
Do we want to
Yeah.
make any changes at all?
Well, how about
Do this first.
yeah,
And then
Duh.
discuss.
number one, Steve Young.
I can't believe that.
On average?
I thought I'd be dying on that hill today.
Number two, it looks like it is Troy Aikman.
All right.
No, sorry.
Fuck.
Brett
Oh,
Favre. Brett Favre.
I actually feel good about Favre being above.
Yeah, I mean, I put him as my one, but I really thought, dang, so Aikman really got 2.
Aikman got 3.
See, this
Okay.
right here, this order, this top 3 is my childhood. Like,
Yeah,
this is what
that's-
I remember as this battle of the NFC
and
every.
that's probably why that's why the
every
average
year.
is matching up right.
Yeah.
It's what we saw on TV. It was fun to watch them all.
And then it looks like Dan Marino got 4.
Wow. Those 3 on top probably won, let's see, 3, 4. They won 5 of the 10 Super Bowls in the 90s.
6.
6? Did
No, 5. You're right. 5.
Yeah.
Because Favre lost 1.
Elway.
For some reason I was thinking the Cowboys won 4. But I guess they only won 3.
yeah.
Giants
the
got one of those
won.
Bills ones.
Yeah.
Phil
Yeah.
Sims got one of those Bills ones.
Elway. So the top 5 is Steve Young, Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, and John Elway.
Okay.
I like that.
And then John Elway got 2 more, so that's 7 of the 10.
7 to 10. Yep.
Who else won them? Oh, you said Sims won.
And
one.
if you take Marino out of that list, there'll still be 7 of the 10.
Yeah.
So
He's bringing down the average for Super Bowl wins.
he is. What's he bringing to the table right now? Laces out.
The greatest movie.
Yeah. Out of all these guys, who had the best movie?
Who had the best appearance on a TV show or
I mean,
movie?
Favre has Wrangler commercials. Are we just gonna not even talk about those?
Did he have him in the
Favre
90s?
was in Something About Mary.
Oh.
Was that- was that in the 90s?
Oh,
I don't-
yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was.
Oh
in the
yeah,
90s.
it had to be.
Oh.
Never
I just
seen
remember
it.
that.
Never,
You
never
never
heard
seen
of
it?
That's my line.
Don't understand the
never,
reference.
Never heard of it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard.
It's a solid
hard to
list.
go wrong with the top 5 we have.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Kelly. Oh, Kelly's just outside.
Yeah,
6,
I'm
yeah.
gonna round. I'll factor all this in, and then we'll do our final.
I'm really surprised that Steve Young was the natural one here on the averages. That surprises me.
I guess I kind of am too. I mean, he won. Yeah.
I mean, it makes
I had
sense to
him
me.
3,
I
so-
I could
agree.
die on this hill all day. I have stats. Let's do it.
All right, here's our top 10 according to our averages: Steve Young, Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, John Elway, Jim Kelly, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Joe Montana, and Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner made the top 10.
Squeaks into the
Wow.
top 10.
Just from
With
that one
the-
year.
He had one of the greatest
Yeah.
years.
Can I
All right.
change mine? I'll put him at 20. I mean, that means who didn't make the top. I mean, dude, you would have taken I would have taken Drew Bledsoe over Kurt Warner all day in the 90s.
Drew Bledsoe would be number 11.
You got to take everything
Mm.
after 2000 out of your head, right? Because he had better years. If you're just looking at 90s, you're telling me that you would take
Why are you
Gross-
looking at me?
no, because I'm just
Get him.
you're on I'm just used to looking at you when we're doing shows. You're telling me that you would take in the 90s, you'd have Drew Bledsoe standing next to Kurt Warner, and you'd take Kurt Warner without knowing what he's going to go
You know
on
this
and
guy
have 2
would.
more years.
Christ.
You have
I
to
don't know.
take off the fact that he's going to still have 2 or 3 more really good years
Yeah.
Let's-
yeah.
off of the table.
Let's start at the top.
I mean, I
though.
could see Kurt Warner not being in the top 10 for
Let's start at
90s
the top.
quarterbacks.
Steve Young. Are we okay with saying Steve Young is the greatest quarterback of the 90s?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Fine.
with it too. Brett Favre the second.
I'm okay with
Well,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made notes as we were talking, and by looking at the stats, I put up arrows by Young and Favre
You take him
Okay.
higher. You put
because I
him
would
higher.
have ranked him higher if I'd have done better research.
Especially after you expose yourself on Marino.
Yeah. Aikman.
I think he's a solid 3, absolutely.
for the 90s quarterback, yeah.
yeah.
See, now we got a problem because I think Dan Marino is better than Troy Aikman.
Based off,
He's a
based off
better
like
quarterback.
stats,
God
yeah.
damn, Troy Aikman never threw 20 touchdowns.
But he won 3 Super Bowls.
Emmitt Smith
And
won
a quarterback-
3 Super Bowls.
Like if we were talking running back or wide receiver, I wouldn't care about winning 3 Super Bowls. But a quarterback managing a team to 3 Super Bowls is pretty good compared to Marino not being able to do it.
I'd be fine with having Marino jump Aikman.
Well,
I'd have-
on my side.
You're an
I
idiot.
personally would have Elway above Marino.
holy. Okay,
That's,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
no.
that's an argument too.
Yeah, that is an
Well,
argument.
that ain't the argument we're having right now. It's Troy Aikman. So Troy Aikman stays because it would tie.
I don't think Troy
So
Aikman should be above Dan Marino, or Dan Marino should be above Troy Aikman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personally,
So it stays.
I think he's a
It
better.
stays. We're moving on.
I think he's a better quarterback. If you factor in
Dan
the
Marino
80s,
number 4. Yes, obviously.
sure.
Yeah. Yes, I will. Yes.
I-
Because at least he didn't lose championships like Jim Kelly.
Whatever he got there. This is Kelly got. I you know what? On my list, I have Elway and Jim Kelly above Dan Marino.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Elway being above Marino. You said Marino's 4 there?
Yeah. So you think Elway?
Elway above Marino.
I think so too.
Elway above Marino.
I don't.
Marino's
and
5.
The averages say. God damn it, Dan! I won't let him do this to you.
So you wouldn't adjust your list to make
'Cause
Marino not be number 1 after what you've learned today?
That's
You're not that
Well,
open-minded?
yeah, I had Marino 5 on my list, so yes, Marino
Okay.
should be 5.
Adam 6. That number 1 really skews it.
Yes, that's yes, that's
I
true.
had it
Two.
too. I
Like
had
holy shit! You got Peyton fucking Manning in your top
6.
5.
It's true. If someone was gonna be on my side in this scenario, Ben would be the
Why
last.
would you-
He's my last pick. That's why he should be a package deal with somebody else.
Yeah.
Could somebody else
Holy
come in and
shit.
help?
All right. Marino's number 4.
Okay.
Elway number 5. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
Yeah,
100%. Jim Kelly number 6.
I think so.
yeah.
Man went to 4 Super Bowls in a
He
row.
did,
That's
yeah.
that's
That's huge.
that's humongous.
Disappointing but impressive.
It makes you think where he would have
Failure.
been on the list if he would have won all 4 of those.
Oh my God,
Or we're on this. We just won 2.
Yeah, or half of them.
he
Oh
would
my God! Yeah,
be in the
like,
top 3.
Maybe 1.
Maybe.
I don't think that he has enough. He's kind of like Aikman. I think if Aikman had the skill set of Brett Favre or Steve Young, he would be number 1. But his skill set wasn't high enough.
We just argued that he wasn't asked to do anything.
I know, but he just didn't have that skill
Yeah.
set though. When things broke down, he didn't have it.
All right, Warren Moon, 7.
I mean, who's 8?
Do you Randall Cunningham?
I think Warren Moon's better than
Yeah.
Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
do you guys see also like after 6 it dropped off?
It did big
really
time.
significantly.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah. I mean, I think Drew Bledsoe is like the top of the next tier of quarterbacks. I think he's that good.
Yeah, he was really good. I think what happened to him and then Brady stepping in like
You
Took
just did
away-
not
it
think of
diminished it.
took
Yeah.
away like what he did before and then what he did after.
Cunningham at 8. Everyone fine with that?
Who's 9?
Montana. Does he jump him?
No, because Montana doesn't have enough body of work. Oh, he did go to a Super Bowl though,
In the 90s? Yeah.
and then he led another team.
Did he win?
No,
He
Montana
won.
should be above him. I think.
He won a Super Bowl.
No, not in the 90s.
Not
He lost
He
one.
won in
Lost
90.
it.
No, he lost it in 90.
Yeah.
But then he also went to a championship game with the Chiefs. A
he's a
completely different
loser.
team.
Loser.
He didn't win a championship.
But
Well,
neither did
Randall Cunningham couldn't even lose it. He never got there.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
But he
what it-
played way more in the 90s. I'm going to keep Cunningham.
I'll stay with Cunningham.
I could move Montana above him.
I would have voted Montana higher,
Well,
but
too bad.
it's too bad. These guys
Too
ruled the
fucking
day.
bad.
But my vote's like half a vote. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
I
need Kurt Warner in my top 10.
I don't think Kurt's gonna stick there.
Number 9, Joe Montana. Are you putting Kurt Warner above him?
no.
No,
They played like Kurt Warner threw way more touchdowns. If you want to bring that in,
not in the 90s.
True. And won a
I
Super
think
Bowl in the
so.
90s.
No,
He
I
threw
don't know.
41 in
I'd
that
have
one
to look
year.
back.
I guarantee that's untrue. I guarantee it.
Probably, yeah, that's probably.
He threw 41 in the 90s.
Kurt Warner.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one year, right?
1999.
Yeah, but Steve Young had Montana had the 90 year. You didn't keep that
Yeah.
in consideration.
Right. That's
so.
right. You might be
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
All right, Montana stand. So Kurt Warner or Drew Bledsoe? Who's
I could vote Drew Bledsoe.
I
or-
would push Warner out and do Bledsoe
or
at
Phil
10.
I'm
Sims
fine
or
with that.
we're putting Bledsoe in?
Yeah,
All right.
I think 90s
Our
quarterback.
first switch.
We can't have Kurt Warner in the top 10. I'm
no.
sorry.
He played 1 year.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, if he would have had if he would have had 90 and 2000 pushed in, that would be a different story.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, if
All
I'm
right.
thinking 90s quarterbacks, I picture Drew Bledsoe.
it's official.
it's official.
The
That's our
SGT
list.
Sports official
It's not a bad
top
list.
10 quarterbacks of the 90s are as follows: Steve Young, Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, John Elway, Jim Kelly, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Joe Montana, and Drew Bledsoe.
Solid.
I would like to reach out to the audience right now and remind you to not fact check anything. What we said here today was in the heat of passion. Some of it might be true, some of it might not be true.
A lot of it's not.
But the top 10 is locked in, and that's just all there is to it. Although in the comment section you can give us your top 10, but it doesn't matter that much.
It'll go on deaf ears.
Just kidding.
If there's any Peyton Manning supporters for the 90s, go ahead and put it in there.
You've been, I bet, a lot of hate. I foresee a lot of hate. coming
Why'd
your
that
way.
idiot think Peyton Manning played in the 90s?
Who else did he have up that was real high besides
Kurt Warner.
Yeah,
Kurt
Kurt
Warner.
Warner and Peyton Manning.
Manning was 6, Warner was 7 on my
Oh
list.
my God,
In
All right.
hindsight,
that's mind-boggling.
wrap it up. Thanks for you end it. It's your host.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time.